Welcome, everyone. My name is Angel Lorente, and I'm the founder and CEO of FinTech Connector. I want to thank everyone for joining us today in our first ever virtual member town hall. We have a great lineup of speakers for you, and we hope that you will enjoy it. But before we get started, while we're living through these unprecedented times of the coronavirus, I sincerely hope that you and your families are well and staying healthy. Also, I want to talk about some of the town hall rules that we have for today. If for whatever reason, because technology doesn't work, we get disconnected, please just feel free to join back in. If I drop off by mistake, I promise to be back on as soon as possible. Also, we're going to be releasing some polls and some questions throughout the town hall. It'll be great if you could vote, select your answers, and we'll be posting some of those results of those polls and questions throughout the virtual town hall. And at the end of this, we're also recording this. We're going to share those questions as well as the answers to those polls for your use. Please submit questions. We want to try to make this as interactive as possible. We will have points along the town hall to ask those questions, and we'll call on you to ask the question as opposed to us reading it out. So if you're still available, we'll just kind of ask you, hey, do you want to ask the question? And we'll unmute your mic. And lastly, as we move along, it'll be great to please share your feedback either in the chat sessions or after the event is over. We're going to be providing a link where you could fill out a small survey for us that will be extremely useful for us as we plan more events throughout the year, particularly these virtual events because of the times that we're living in. Now let's jump into the town hall agenda. The first part is I'm going to spend a couple of minutes with some, I already did the welcome, but with some opening remarks, talking to you a little bit about what FinTech Connector and who we are. Many of you are members already and are part of our platform, so you already know what we're doing. But I also want to tell you the story because you might not have the full context of how FinTech Connector started and where we are today and where we want to go. Then we're going to have a great keynote speaker, Jonathan Nelson, who's the managing director of HackFund. And once he's done with his speaking and the Q&A, we're going to move into some sound bites. These are short 5 to 7 minute discussions or conversations with this great lineup of enablers and innovators that's going to share some of their experiences around the world, what they're going through right now, particularly with what the coronavirus and how that's impacting the fintech and innovation space. We'll have an opportunity for Q&A from members for these speakers. And then we're going to talk about some of the things that we're doing at FinTech Connector on our platform. And more importantly, we're announcing today the release of our mobile app, version 1.0. And we're going to have the gentleman from Albright Technologies based in Poland that helped us deliver this app. So looking forward to having them introduce themselves, and then we'll have some closing remarks. So please sit back and enjoy the next hour to the next 2 hours as we really go into some good information around what's going on around the world in the fintech and innovation space. The vision of FinTech Connector is to connect people, opportunities, and capital, both human and funding capital, to innovate financial services for global impact. That is our ultimate vision. But before we dive into our value proposition and what we're doing now and for the next 6 months and 2 years, let's give you a little bit of back. I'm going to go back and tell you the story of how FinTech Connector started. And to do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. So I've been in the financial services industry going now on 25 years, with 23 of those years at Morgan Stanley, where I've done a number of roles from front office to middle office to back office to treasury to operational risk and innovation. So I've done a lot in those 23 years at Morgan Stanley. In 2016, I started getting curious about cryptocurrencies and blockchain, and I ended up picking up a research report that was written by Morgan Stanley, and it was interviewing Blythe Masters, who at the time was the CEO of Digital Asset Holdings, which is an enterprise blockchain company. Before that, she was a managing director at JP Morgan, and she left that role to move in to run digital asset holdings. And in that research report, she mentioned how blockchain and technologies such as blockchains were going to revolutionize the way that banks do business. That was really eye-opening for me, being in financial services for many years. And for me, the biggest thing was I didn't want to wait for one day for somebody to come into my office, tap me on my shoulder, and tell me that a robot supported by a blockchain was going to take over my job. So that, again, as I mentioned, that for me was extremely eye-opening. So I decided to do some research, and I came across a course that was being offered by MIT, which was an online course on FinTech and future commerce. I was part of that first cohort, and I loved the online version of the course and the people that I was meeting and things of that sort. But one of the things that it was missing was this real-world opportunity to just connect people. And being in New York, what some may argue or disagree with, being the financial services and FinTech capital of the world, I thought it made sense just to get people together to just talk about what they were doing. So I went on the forum and I said, I'm going to be at this bar, Hurley's, 6 o'clock on Thursday. Come on by and grab a beer and let's talk FinTech. That first meetup, only 2 people showed up. We did it for 12 weeks of the course. Every Thursday, 6 o'clock, Hurley's, come on by, let's grab a beer and talk FinTech. And by the time the course was over, I would say we would get anywhere from 15, 30 people showing up at this bar. And the theme was really always about just connecting people. People like myself, 15, 20, 25 years of experience, were just trying to figure out what FinTech meant, how it's going to impact our careers, and what can we do to leverage our experience in this space. We also met many FinTech entrepreneurs that were leaving either jobs in financial services or technologies and saw the opportunities to revolutionize financial services. But in some cases, they were building great apps, but did not have the experience of being in financial services or dealing with the many complexities that were out there. So I just ultimately just started connecting people. Fast forward into 2017, some of my cohorts from MIT would reach out to me and ask me, hey, love what you're doing, want to start something similar in my city. So I said, hey, don't start something new. Why don't we just do this? Brand yourself as FinTech Connector. You'll be the community partner in your city. I'll be the community partner here in New York, and we'll just cross-promote each other and start growing our communities. In 2017, that grew, where we now have a number of real-world communities that are run by community partners. You can find them on FinTech Connector in the communities page if you want to connect with them and see how you guys could connect within your respective cities. But what was missing from that was the fact that, fine, we had these 15, 20 cities where activity was happening, we had people running those communities, but what it was missing was, how do I extend this to the rest of the world? Because not everyone was going to have a real world hub. And that's in 2018 when we created our web platform at FinTech Connector, where we're allowing people to join as an enabler or an innovator with the same goal that we first started at Hurley's, is how do we connect people for impact? So that's where we are in terms of 2018. Today, into 2019, we've been growing the platform and thinking of new ways to engage people. And today we're going to announce the release of a mobile app, which will be coming later on. So please stay tuned, stick around, so that way you'll get access to that. But leads me back to where we were in terms of our vision. The vision of FinTech Connector is to connect people, opportunities, and capital to innovate financial services for global impact. We want to do that by bringing trust and transparency to the FinTech world, in terms of how I mentioned earlier, bringing those professionals, those investors in those organizations, the enablers, with those FinTech entrepreneurs so they could connect, collaborate, and cultivate FinTech ideas into financial services innovation. I firmly believe that in the next 2 to 5 years, the next generation of FinTech innovation is going to be coming from FinTech Connector. And it's because of members like you that are part of this and that are sharing opportunities with each other that I see this happening. The members on our platform, as I mentioned, are enablers and innovators. Those enablers are your finance and business services professionals. They could be decision makers in financial services, consulting, and technology organizations. They're experienced investors that invest in FinTech companies or have access to a network of investors that invest in FinTech companies. Our innovators tend to be ex-FinServ professionals that are with a credible FinTech business idea in pre-launch. They could be existing businesses in the FinTech space at that angel to Series A is where we relatively find them, or that are joining. But more importantly, these innovators have a commitment to take a FinTech idea from concept to reality. Some of the organizations that you see at the bottom are the organizations that our members belong to or work for. And honestly, we have hundreds of organizations on FinTech Connector that our members are associated with. So please check it out and join and connect with people there. In terms of our value proposition is around these 6 circles. It's around member connectivity, is around how do we collaborate on innovation. It's around how do we connect fintechs with investors so they can invest in the next generation of fintech innovation. It's around thought leadership, like this town hall that we're doing today, and bringing our members to the forefront to share their experience. Ultimately, it's going to be about business development and career opportunity as well. It's how do we make sure that we provide a platform and an environment where these types of engagements could easily happen. It's not about collecting likes. It's not about collecting connections. It's not about sharing somebody else's article. It's really about how do we share what we have, and how do we work as a network and as a community to connect with each other and drive innovation forward. We're going to do this through an integrated platform. So, and just as we know, some of this is still aspirational, it's still in the planning stages. As I like to say, the architectural drawings are already in place, but we're a startup, and we know that there are limitations to how much we can do with the money that we have. So we're taking this in a very clear and planned approach to release our various different solutions, like our member platform, like a mobile app that we released today to you as our first beta testers. We're working on a Launchpad collaboration, which we'll talk about later on. Of course, our live and virtual events, which we do. Actually, our live events are now going to be put on pause, but we do have our virtual events that we continue. And it's about how do we continue to get content from our members and share that with our network around the world. So where are we on our journey? As you can see from these 6 little tables that I put, or little pictures, is we have close to, actually this is a little bit dated to 2,400 members, because this was as of February. We're getting close to 2,700 members, and now probably in over 100 countries. But as you can see there, the regional makeup, 51% of our members come from these 10 cities that we show here. Again, the representation, as you can see, it's pretty much around the world, right? It's in the Americas, it's in Latin America. We have there Europe represented, Middle East represented, Asia as well. So we definitely have huge presence in these cities, but it's only from 51%. So you could see that there are other cities where actually through our membership, it's coming from all over the world. We talked about our different members. We have 59% enablers, 41% innovators. We want more innovators to connect with our enablers. So if you know any FinTech or innovation startups that need help, ask them to join FinTech Connector. And the beautiful thing about all this is that as we're growing and more members join, we're collecting rich data that could be used, that could be useful for our members to understand not only the ecosystems that are trending and where people are interested and involved in, but also start understanding where the different opportunities that are being looked after by enablers, or the different services that are being requested by innovators, because that's where the true value matching comes in, is how do I connect an enabler that could help an innovator along their journey to create that next FinTech innovation that will disrupt or innovate financial services. So with that said, I want to thank you for allowing me to present to you a little bit about myself, how FinTech Connector started, our vision, and more importantly, our path to where we want to go, and the services and tools that we want to start providing you, our members, to be able to connect, collaborate, and cultivate FinTech innovation.